The thing nobody tells you about being the family disappointment is how good your reflexes get at ignoring the people who love you. By 26, I had perfected it. When my sister Donna's name lit up my phone at 9:14 on a Tuesday night, my thumb was already moving toward the red button before my brain finished the sentence, "Not tonight." I was on the floor of Marlowe's diner, on my knees behind the counter, scraping dried syrup off the rubber mats, because Gus, the night manager, had decided that punishment for clocking in 9 minutes late was an hour of cleaning he'd already paid someone else to do. The fluorescent lights hummed that headache hum. My apron smelled like burnt coffee and other people's leftovers. I was 26 years old, and I was scraping syrup. And my older sister, who had a master's degree and a husband and a house with a real lawn, was calling to check on me again. So I let it go to voicemail. That's the part I have to say out loud, because the title of whatever this is, whatever you'd call a confession, nobody asked for, makes it sound like I did something brave. I didn't. The first time Dana called, I declined it. I want that on the record before I make myself sound like a hero, because I am not one. And the difference between me being alive and me being one of them came down to her calling a second time, 40 seconds later, which she never did. Donna respected a declined call the way most people respect a closed door. The second buzz felt different in my hand, heavier somehow, though that's hindsight talking. I wiped syrup off my fingers onto the apron and answered with the exact tone I'd been refining since I was 19, the tone that said, "I'm fine, I don't need rescuing, please don't make this a thing. Dana, I'm at work, can I—" "Where exactly are you right now?" Not a question. No hello. Her voice had a flatness I'd only heard from her twice before, once at our father's hospice bed, and once when she told me she'd covered my rent, so the eviction wouldn't go on my record. The voice she used when something was already true and she was just deciding how to tell me. The diner on Fulton. "Why, what's—" "Listen to me, Mara, I need you to listen and not argue, and I know that's hard for you, so I'm asking you to do it anyway." A breath. In the background of her line, I heard something I couldn't place, a low, sustained tone, like a test of the broadcast system, but wrong, too long. "I need you to walk to the back of the building, right now. Don't make it look like anything. Don't tell anyone why." I laughed, because that's what you do when your competent sister starts talking like a movie. "Are you drunk? Did something happen with Eli?" "Eli's not here." She said it in a way that closed a door I didn't know was open. I have maybe 25 minutes before something gets announced, and when it does, every road out of the east side stops working. I need you behind a locked door before then. Is the diner's walk-in cooler the kind with the inside release handle? I stood up, I don't know why. Something in me obeyed before I'd agreed to anything. Through the pass-through window, I could see Gus by the register and our one late customer, a man in a gray jacket hunched over the counter, and out past them the big front window showing Fulton Street, the dry cleaner across the way, the bus stop. Ordinary, ordinary, ordinary. "Dana, you're scaring me, and I don't think you mean to, so I need you to just tell me what's going on. Where are you getting this?" There was a silence on the line that lasted too long. I have replayed that silence more times than any sentence she ever said to me, because in that silence I now understand she was choosing what to leave out. "I'm somewhere I can see things you can't yet," she finally said. "That's all. Walk to the back. Stay on the phone. I'm not hanging up until you're safe. Do you understand me? I am not hanging up." And God help me, for the first time in 7 years, I did what my sister told me to do. The walk from the counter to the back of Marlowe's is 22 steps. I counted them later, on a different night, when counting things had become how I kept my hands from shaking. That night I didn't count. I just moved, phone pressed to my ear, Past the prep station with its rack of clean knives, past Rosa, the dishwasher, who was leaning against the steel sink, scrolling her phone with the particular stillness of someone reading something that wasn't loading right. Mara, Rosa looked up. She was 19, barely, with a kid at home she talked about constantly in a way of calling me Yeffa, even though I had zero authority over anyone. My signal's being weird. You getting anything? My mom's not texting back, and the little wheel just keeps... Hold on, I said to her, and into the phone. Dana, Rosa's phone is down. Is that part of it? It's starting on the towers, Dana said. And now there was speed in her voice, the words coming faster. They throttle it before they announce, so it doesn't spread ahead of them. Listen, who's there with you right now? Names, quickly. Rosa, Gus, he's the manager, a customer. Some guy in a gray jacket I don't know. How's the customer acting? I leaned to see through the pass-through. The man in gray hadn't touched his food. He was sitting very straight now, which I hadn't noticed before. His head tilted slightly like a dog hearing a sound above human range. His coffee sat untouched and steaming. Gus was saying something to him and getting nothing back. He's just sitting there, not eating. Why are you asking me about the customer, Dana? What does the customer have to do with... Because the first ones look like they're listening to something, she said. Before anything else. Before it's obvious. They go still and they tilt their heads like they're trying to hear a song. That's the only warning you get. I need you to not be near him when it stops being subtle. Cold went through me, the real kind. The kind that starts in your stomach and not your skin. Dana, how do you know that? Mara, how do you know that? You're a project manager. You make spreadsheets. How do you know what the first ones look like? Another silence. Shorter this time, but I heard her decide again. Because I've been looking at one for the last hour, she said quietly. And I need you to trust me more than you've ever trusted me about anything. Get into the cooler. Pull Rosa with you if you can do it without a scene. Lock it from the inside. And do not, no matter what you hear out there, open it until I tell you it's clear. Can you do that for me? Out front, the man in gray stood up. He did it all at once, the chair scraping back, and I watched Gus take a step away from him with both hands raised in that universal whoa buddy gesture. The man's head was still tilted. He took a step toward Gus that wasn't a walk exactly. It was too smooth and too fast at the same time, like a thing remembering how walking worked while it did it. Rosa, I said, and my voice came out steadier than I felt, which surprised me, which is maybe the first thing I learned about myself that night, and that there was something underneath the screw-up that could hold still when it mattered. Come with me into the walk-in. Right now, don't ask, just come. She looked at me, and then she looked through the pass-through, and whatever she saw on my face or out there made her set her phone down on the steel counter and follow me. We backed toward the cooler door. I heard Gus say the man's water glass had spilled, heard him say, sir, heard him say it again, with the start of fear in it. I'm in front of the cooler, I told Dana. Good girl, inside. Now. And then, fast and low, the first thing she said all night that wasn't an instruction. I am so glad you picked up. I called twice. I was so scared you wouldn't pick up. The walk-in cooler at Marlowe's is the size of a small bedroom, lined with steel shelves of milk crates and produce boxes, and a hanging side of beef that I would come to hate looking at over the next several hours. I pulled the heavy door shut behind us and felt the rubber seals suck closed, and I found the safety release handle with my hand and held it, because Dana had asked about it, and that meant it mattered. Rosa stood in the middle of the cold with her arms wrapped around herself. Jeffa, she whispered. What was wrong with that man? I didn't answer her because I didn't have an answer, and because through the 4 inches of insulated steel I could hear something happening in the diner that the human mind refuses to file correctly the first time it encounters it. There was a sound like furniture, and a sound like a person trying to scream who couldn't get the breath organized, and under it, the worst part, a wet, rhythmic sound I won't describe, because Donna told me later that the people who survive are the ones who learn fast, not to picture things, and she was right about that the way she was right about almost everything. "Mara, talk to me," Dana's voice in my ear, an anchor. "Tell me you're inside." "We're inside. The door's sealed. I'm holding the handle." My teeth had started to chatter, and it wasn't the cold. "Dana, Gus is still out there. We left Gus out there." "I know. We have to—" "You don't. You can't. Hard, fast, absolute. Listen to me. There is nothing you can do for him that doesn't end with you out there, too, and if you go out there, then me calling you twice meant nothing. Do you understand? I spent the last of something I can't get back to make this call. Don't waste it on a door you can't win." I slid down the cold steel until I was sitting on the cooler floor, Rosa folding down beside me, the two of us pressed together for warmth and for the animal comfort of not being alone. The sounds outside changed, settled, became a kind of dragging quiet. I kept the phone against my ear like it was the only solid thing left in the world. "What did you mean?" I said. "The last of something you can't get back. It doesn't matter right now." "It matters to me." She breathed out, and in the breath I heard something I'd been refusing to hear since she said Eli's not here. A tiredness that went past tired, a slowness in the words like she was speaking through a blanket. "We'll talk about it when you're safe. The announcement's going to come over your phone in a few minutes. When it does, the streets are done. The east side will be locked by then. There's a window after the alert, maybe an hour, where the panic hasn't fully started but the perimeter isn't fully closed, and that's when you move. Not before. Not after. I'm going to walk you through every step. I've already mapped it. You mapped my escape route." Of course she had. Dinah mapped vacations to the half hour. Dinah had a binder for our father's medications. Dinah had apparently mapped the end of the world. "I had time," she said, while I was waiting to see if I'd need it. Rosa was crying without sound, the way you learn to cry when you have a sleeping baby. And I put my arm around her because it was the only useful thing in reach. And I made myself ask the question I'd been circling, because the version of me that hung up on her an hour ago was already dead, and the version sitting on the cooler floor needed to know who she was talking to. "Dana, where's Eli? Where's your husband?" The silence this time had a texture I'd never heard from her. Then, "Eli was the one I've been looking at for the last hour. Eli's the reason I knew what the man in the gray jacket would look like before he did." I have a degree in nothing. I dropped out of 2 programs and got fired from more jobs than I'll admit to, and the most responsible thing I'd ever done before, that Tuesday, was keep a houseplant alive for 11 months. So when my sister told me, in a flat voice from across the city, that she'd been watching her husband turn into one of those things for an hour and had used that hour to make sure I picked up the phone, my first instinct was the one I'd been running my whole life, that I was the wrong person for this, that she'd called the wrong sister, that Dana, who could handle anything, deserved to be handled by someone competent, and instead she'd gotten me. "Dana, where are you? Tell me exactly where you are. I'll come. You will absolutely not." The strength came back into her voice for that, and a flash of the big sister who'd talked teachers and landlords and one bad boyfriend out of my life over the years. "I'm in the upstairs bathroom. The door's locked. He can't work the handle anymore. I'm fine where I am for now." For now? I noticed it, and she heard me notice it. "He came home from the urgent care," she said. And now that she'd decided to tell me, it came out steady, almost clinical, the way Dana delivered hard things. He'd cut his hand on something at the site yesterday, and it wasn't healing, and he had a fever. They were turning people away at the ER. Did you know that? Tuesday afternoon. They were already turning people away, and nobody said why. He got worse fast. By 8, he wasn't making sense. And by 8:30, he went still and tilted his head like he was listening to the radiator. And I'm a project manager, Mara. I look at a problem, and I map the failure points. So I locked myself in here, and I thought about who I needed to reach before the networks went. And there was only one person on the whole list. Don't say it. It was you, she said anyway. It was always going to be you. Because Mom's gone, and Dad's gone, and Eli's downstairs, and you're the only family I have left. And I was not going to spend my last hour of working cell service on hold with 911. I pressed the back of my head against the steel and let the cold bite into my skull because the pain was easier than the rest of it. Don't talk like it's your last hour. I'm telling you the situation, she said. I'm not asking you to fix it. There's a difference. And you spent your whole life confusing the two, and I need you to not do that now. You can't fix where I am. But you can do exactly what I say, and get yourself out, and if you do that, then this hour was the best work I ever did. Better than anything in any spreadsheet. Do you hear me? Rosa had stopped crying and was watching my face in the dim, cooler light, reading the half of the conversation she could hear. She reached over and squeezed my free hand. This 19-year-old who I'd thought of as a kid I worked next to, and the squeeze said, I'm here. And I understood for the first time that I wasn't only responsible for myself in that cold room. There was a kid with a baby at home who'd followed me through that door because I'd told her to. I'd given an instruction and someone had trusted it. That had never happened to me before in my life. Okay, I said into the phone. Okay, Dana? Tell me the route. That's my girl. I heard her shift, heard porcelain, heard her settle in for the work she had left. First thing, in about 90 seconds, your phone is going to make a sound you've never heard it make. It's going to be loud, and it's going to scare you and Rosa both. When it does, do not panic, and do not let her run. The announcement is the starting gun, not the finish line. We move on my count, not theirs. And then, right on the edge of her sentence, every phone in that cold room began to scream at once. The emergency alert tone is engineered by people who study fear for a living, and it works. It came out of my phone and Rosa's phone in the same instant. That synthetic shriek that bypasses the thinking part of your brain and goes straight to the animal, and Rosa lunged for the door before her conscious mind could vote on it. I caught her by the apron strings and pulled her back down, hard, the way Dana's voice in my ear had told me to a minute before it happened. And that's the first time I understood the value of what my sister was doing. She was putting instructions into me before I needed them, so that when the fear came, the response was already loaded. It's okay. It's okay. That's normal. That's just the phone, I said to Rosa, holding her, while the alert screamed and then cut to a robotic voice reading text neither of us looked at. We didn't need to read it. We could hear the city outside the diner's walls beginning to understand. Mara, Dana cutting through. Read me the alert. The exact words. I need to know which version they sent. I turned my phone so the screen lit my face. Shelter in place. A biological emergency has been declared in the East Metro. Do not travel. Avoid contact with affected individuals. Remain indoors and await further instruction. I read it to her, all of it. Shelter in place, Dana repeated, and made a small sound that might have been a laugh in a different life. Good. That's the one they send when they don't have the manpower to evacuate. It means they've already given up on the east side and they're going to wall it off and wait. Which means the perimeter is going up on the river bridges right now, and that's the thing we're racing. You're on Fulton. That puts you maybe 2 miles inside it. Inside what? Inside the part they're going to abandon. She said it the way you'd report weather. So here's the truth, and I'm only saying it once because we don't have time for you to argue with it. The alert tells you to stay put. The alert is wrong for you specifically. Staying put on Fulton means waiting inside a sealed zone with no one coming. We're going to do the opposite of what they just told 1 million people to do, and the only reason it'll work is because 1 million people are about to do what they were told. I looked at Rosa. She was watching me with the alert still glowing in her hand. The official voice of authority telling her to stay exactly where she was, and here I was about to tell her the opposite based on a phone call she couldn't fully hear. "Rosa," I said, "my sister knows things. I can't explain how. But she called me before any of this, and everything she said came true, including the man out there, before it happened. I'm going to do what she says. You don't have to, but I'd really like you to come with me, because I don't think staying here is safe, even though the phone says it is." It was the most honest sentence I'd said to another human being in years. No spin, no deflection, no joke to soften it. Just the truth and an open hand. Rosa looked at the alert and looked at me, and I watched her make the same decision I'd made on the diner floor to trust the voice over the evidence in front of her eyes. "My baby's with my mom on the west side," she said. "Across the river." "Then west is where we're going," I said, and into the phone. "Dana, change of plan. We need to get Rosa across the river to the west side. Her kid's over there." I expected my sister to say it complicated things. Instead, she was quiet for a second, and then she said, "Okay," and there was something almost relieved in it. "Good. That gives you a reason to move that's bigger than fear. People who are only running from something stop running when they're tired. People running towards someone don't use it. Now is the diner quiet out front?" I listened. The dragging had stopped. The terrible wet rhythm had stopped. There was only the cooler's hum and, far off, the first sirens. And under everything, the city's new sound. A low, collective murmur of fear leaking out of every window on Fulton at once. "It's quiet," I told her. I think he stopped. Whatever he was doing to Gus." "That's both good and bad," Dana said. "Good because it's not actively hunting right now. Bad because of why it stopped. They go still after they fed, like a snake. He's going to be slow and stupid for a little while. And that little while is your window to get out of that diner. But you need to see the room before you open the cooler all the way. Is there a gap? A crack you can look through?" There was. The cooler door, when you didn't pull the safety handle, sat a hair off, true, and there was a sliver of dim diner visible through it. I put my eye to the gap and made myself look at what I'd been only hearing. I'm not going to describe Gus. Dana told me not to picture things, and I'm passing that mercy to you. I'll say only that he was on the floor near the register, and he wasn't going to get up the way Gus, and that the man in the gray jacket was sitting back down at the counter, sitting in exactly the posture he'd had when he was a customer, head tilted, listening to his Radiator song, "Gone Somewhere a Human Being Doesn't Come Back From." "There's one," I whispered. "The gray jacket man. He's by the counter. He's calm. He's between us and the front door." "Is there a back exit?" "Through the kitchen. The alley door. But it sticks. Gus always complained it sticks." "Then it sticks quietly or it kills you. Those are the options. And you're going to make it stick quietly," Dana said, and somehow the brutal practicality of it steadied me more than any comfort could have. "Here's the sequence. Rosa goes first because she's smaller and quieter. You go second because you're holding the phone and I need you talking to me. You move in a straight line to the kitchen and you do not look at the thing at the counter because looking at it makes you want to track it, and tracking it makes you slow, and slow is what kills people. Eyes on the alley door. Walk like you belong there. They notice motion that's afraid before they notice motion that's calm. Can you walk calm, Mara? I've been faking calm my whole life, I said. It's the one thing I'm good at. Then this is what you were practicing for. And I heard her smile, I swear I did. 3 miles away with her husband downstairs and a locked door between her and what he'd become, she smiled, because her useless little sister had finally found a use for being good at pretending she was fine. I turned to Rosa and laid it out for her in a whisper, every step, the way Dana had laid it out for me, and I watched it land in her the way it had landed in me, the fear organizing itself into a task. We pulled off our shoes and held them, because Dana said, rubber soles squeak on diner tile, and bare feet don't. We agreed on the route to the kitchen, around the prep station, past the dish sink, to the alley door. We agreed that if either of us fell, the other one did not stop. On my count, Dana said. And Mara, once you're in the alley, you're in the city, and the city is going to be a different animal than that diner. The infected are the smaller problem out there. People are the bigger one. A scared crowd that just heard shelter in place and decided to run anyway is more dangerous than that thing at the counter, because the thing only wants one of you, and the crowd will trample all of you to save themselves. Stay off the main streets. Stay where I tell you. The map's in my head, and I'm going to read it to you block by block. Ready? I eased the safety handle. The seal released with a soft sigh that sounded, in that silence, like a gunshot. The gray-jacketed thing at the counter tilted its head a degree further. Ready, I said. Go, said my sister. We moved. Rosa first, low and silent. A girl who'd learned to move quietly around a sleeping infant, now using it to move quietly around a sleeping monster. I went after her with the phone pressed to my ear and Dana's breathing in it, and I kept my eyes on the alley door the way she'd told me, and I did not look at the counter, and that act of not looking was the hardest physical thing I had ever done, because every animal instinct I owned screamed at me to watch the predator. The kitchen swallowed us. Stainless steel and the smell of old grease and the alley door with its sticking frame. Rosa reached it first and put both hands on the bar and looked back at me, and I nodded and she pushed. It stuck. Of course it stuck. It made a low groan of metal against swollen frame, and behind us from the dining room I heard the counterstool scrape. It hurt us, I breathed into the phone. Then you're out of time and into action, Dana said, calm as a metronome. Both of you on the bar, lift and push at the same time, not separately, on 3. 1, 2. We hit it together on 3, and the door gave all at once, swinging out into a cold alley smelling of dumpster and river, and we spilled through it as the thing in the gray jacket came around the prep station, behind us moving in that wrong, smooth, fast way. Rosa got the door and hauled it shut, and I jammed a broken pallet through the handle, the kind of improvised stupid thing that shouldn't work and worked, and the door shuddered as the thing hit it from inside, and then we were running down the alley in our socks with our shoes in our hands, and the whole city opening up ahead of us like a wound. I want to tell you the alley was the worst of it. It wasn't. The alley was the diner's problem. What was waiting at the mouth of the alley was the city's. Fulton Street had become a river of people. The shelter-in-place order had lasted in the public's heart for about 90 seconds before the first car alarm and the first scream turned it into a stampede, and now Fulton was solid with bodies moving west, toward the bridges, toward the river, toward exactly where we needed to go, and toward exactly the choke point Dana had warned me was already being sealed. Cars abandoned with doors open. A woman screaming a name over and over. The deep, stupid roar of a crowd that has stopped being people and become a single frightened animal. I see the crowd, I told Dana, pressing into the recessed doorway of the dry cleaner with Rosa, getting us out of the current before it took us. Everyone's going west on Fulton. It's a wall of people. Do not get in that crowd. Sharp, immediate. I mean it, Mara. A crowd that size at a bridge that's closing is a crush. People die standing up in those. They don't get bitten. They get squeezed until they can't breathe, and nobody even notices until it's over. You're going to let Fulton have its panic, and you're going to take Delancey, 1 block south. It'll be empty because it doesn't feel like it goes anywhere. It dead ends at the old rail yard. But there's a maintenance gap in the rail fence that I walked through on a project 2 years ago, and it puts you at the foot of the South Pedestrian Bridge, the small one. The one the crowd's forgotten about because it's not on the navigation apps. That's your river crossing. I stared at the wall of panicking people, all of them obeying their terror, all of them pouring toward the obvious bridge, and I understood what my sister had given me. Not courage, not skill, just information nobody else had, and the trust to act on it, while everyone around me ran the wrong way with total conviction. Delancey to the rail yard to the South Bridge, I repeated. Move now, Dana said, while the crowd's noise covers you. And Mara, when you get to the rail fence, I need to tell you something, and you're not going to want to hear it, and I need you to keep walking while I say it. We took Delancey, and it was empty exactly the way she said it would be. A dark 1-block stub of a street that didn't feel like an escape route, which is precisely why it was one. Rosa and I jogged down the middle of it in our socks, shoes finally jammed back on at a doorway, and the roar of Fulton faded behind us into something almost peaceful. The way a nightmare gets quieter the deeper you go into the part of the house no one visits. I'm walking, I told Dana. Rosa's with me. Delancey's clear. What do you need to tell me? She was quiet for a moment, and I heard faintly a sound from her end that I'd been hearing for a while and refusing to name. A slow, dragging thud, repeated, patient. Something downstairs, against the stairs, or the bathroom door. He's trying to come up, I said. It wasn't a question. He's been trying for a while, Dana said. The door's good. It's a solid core door. We replaced it when we renovated. I remember being annoyed at how much it cost. Funny what you're grateful for. She breathed. Here's the thing I need to tell you. The fever Eli had. The cut on his hand that wouldn't heal. I've had a headache since this morning. And about 20 minutes ago, while I was talking you through the cooler, I noticed I keep losing the thread of what I'm saying for half a second. Little gaps, like a skip. I stopped walking. Rosa stopped with me, reading my face. Keep walking, Dana said immediately, sharp. I told you to keep walking. Don't you dare stop on my account. That's the whole thing. That's the entire point of the last hour. You're not infected. My voice came out very small. You're in a locked bathroom. You said he can't get to you. You're scared, that's all. Scared makes your head skip. Mara. Gentle now, which was worse. I helped him into the house when he came home from urgent care. Before I understood. I had his blood on my hands. I washed his cut. I was a good wife for about 3 hours before I figured out what I was looking at. I don't have the cut he had. But it doesn't only get in through cuts. I've watched enough of him tonight to know what the first hour looks like. And I'm in it. That's why I called you twice. That's why I used the time the way I used it. I wasn't ever going to need that escape route I mapped. I made it for you. I just didn't want to tell you until you were too far along to come back for me. The dark street tilted. Somewhere in me, the old reflex screamed, go to her, fix it, prove you're not useless. And right behind it came the new thing, the cold, steady thing I'd found on the cooler floor, and the two of them fought for control of my legs. I'm coming, I heard myself say. Tell me your address. I'm coming to get you. We'll figure it out. There's got to be... There's nothing to figure out, and you know it. Because you watched what came out of the gray jacket man, Dana said. I am not going to let the last thing my sister sees be me with my head tilted. I am going to stay your sister all the way to the end of this phone call. And the way you let me do that is you walk to the rail fence and you get Rosa to her baby. That's it. That's the only version of this where I get to be the big sister one more time. Don't take it from me. You've taken enough. It was the cruelest and kindest thing she could have said, and it was true, and it turned me back around toward the rail yard. Okay, I whispered. Okay, I'm walking. Tell me about the fence. The rail yard fence was where she said it would be, chain link gone soft with rust, and the maintenance gap was where she said it would be too, a section peeled back at the bottom corner that a person could belly under if they didn't mind the cold mud, and we didn't, not anymore. Rosa went first. I held the wire up for her, and then she held it for me. And we came up on the far side in a dead expanse of rusted tracks and dark gravel with the river smell strong now, and the river itself a black ribbon ahead, and beyond it the west side, lit up and untouched, where a 19-year-old's baby was sleeping in a grandmother's arms with no idea the world had ended 2 miles east. We're through the fence, I told Dana. I can see the river. I can see the little bridge. Good. Her voice had changed in the last few minutes, slower. The gaps she described were audible now, small stutters, half-second silences, in the middle of words where something reached up and took her and then gave her back. Listen, the South Bridge has a gate on the east end, a city padlock. But the hasp's been broken for years. Nobody ever fixed it. You just lift it. The bridge itself is fine. It's just pedestrian. You'll feel it move under you. That's normal. Don't let it scare Rosa. Dana, your voice... I know. A pause that went on a beat too long. I know what my voice is doing. Let me get you across the bridge first. Then we'll talk about my voice. Priorities, Mara. You were always so bad at priorities, and I'm so proud of how you're doing right now. I need you to hear that. I'm proud of you. I've been proud of you for longer than you think. I just have a terrible way of showing it. I lead with the rent and the lectures, and I never just say it. So I'm saying it, while I can still hold the thread. I was crying now, walking across rusted tracks toward a black river, crying in a way I hadn't since the funeral. And Rosa took my hand without a word, and we walked like that, her steadying me, the kid steadying the Jeffa, and I led her, which was its own small revolution. You don't have to say goodbye stuff, I managed. We're going to keep talking. You're going to talk me all the way to the west side, and then you're going to keep talking, and we'll just stay on the phone. We'll stay on the phone all night. You don't have to go anywhere. That's a nice idea, she said softly, and the kindness in it told me everything. Get to the bridge gate. Tell me when you're there. We reached it. The broken hasp lifted just like she said. The gate swung in with a rust shriek that made us both flinch, and beyond it the South Pedestrian Bridge stretched out over the black water, narrow and forgotten in hours. We're at the bridge, I said. Dana, we're at the bridge. You got us to the bridge. And from the east, behind us, came a sound that froze us both in the open gate. Not the murmur of the Fulton crowd, which was far off now, but something closer, in the rail yard, in the dark we just crossed. The dragging, smooth sound, more than one of them. The infected, or some of them, had found the empty quiet of Delancey and the rail yard the same way we had, drawn not by the crowd, but by the silence. And now they were between the fence and us, somewhere in the dark, listening to their radiator song and hearing, instead, the rust shriek of a gate. They're behind us, I breathed. In the yard, I can hear them, more than one. How far? No panic in Dana's voice. even slowed and stuttering as it was. The project manager finding the failure point. I can't see them. The gravel's dark, but they're between us and the fence. Close. Getting closer. Then you don't go back. You go forward onto the bridge right now, both of you, she said. The bridge is the best thing that could happen. It's narrow. They can only come at you single file, and they're not smart. They don't coordinate. They'll bottleneck. Get to the middle of the span and assess. Move, Mara. Move and tell me what you see. We went onto the bridge. It moved under us exactly as she'd promised, a living sway. And Rosa made a small sound of fear, and I said, "It's supposed to do that." Dana said it's supposed to do that. And the borrowed authority of my sister's voice steadied the both of us. We jogged to the midpoint, the river loud below now, black and fast and cold-smelling, the west side lights close enough to feel like a promise. I looked back. In the spill of a far streetlight, I could see them reach the gate. 3 of them. Moving onto the bridge one at a time the way Dana said they would, bottlenecking on the narrow span, that wrong gate made worse by the swaying boards. 3, I told her. On the bridge, coming. Faster than you? I watched. No, slower. The bridge is messing them up, the sway. They don't balance right. Of course they don't, Dana said, and there was satisfaction in it. The satisfaction of a prediction confirmed. Balance is a whole brain job, and there's not a whole brain left in them. That's your edge. You and Rosa balance fine because you're scared, and scared keeps you sharp. Get to the west end. There's a stair down to the river path. Take it and turn north, and you'll come up at Halstead. And Halstead on the west side is still a normal street, Mara. It's still a city where the lights work. You're almost out. We ran. The bridge swayed, and the 3 behind us stumbled on the sway and fell further back. And I understood that my sister had chosen this crossing not because it was the shortest, but because it was the one that turned the infected's worst weakness against them. That she'd been doing this the whole night, choosing every street and every door and every fence for reasons 3 moves deep, that I only understood as I lived through them. We hit the west stair, down to the river path, north toward Halstead. And behind us, the 3 reached the west gate and kept coming, slow but relentless, never tiring, the patient horror of a thing that does not stop. And I knew with cold certainty that we couldn't outrun relentless forever, that eventually Rosa or I would turn an ankle on the dark path or hit a dead end, and that the bridge edge would not save us twice. Dana, I said, running. They're still coming. They came across the bridge. They're slow, but they're not stopping. What do I do when they... She didn't answer. Dana? The line was open. I could hear her breathing. But she didn't answer, and the half-second gap she'd been fighting all night had opened into something longer, a silence with breath in it, and I ran with the phone pressed so hard against my ear it hurt, saying her name into the dark. Dana, answer me. Please, please answer me. I'm here. Her voice came back, and it was wrong now, slower and thicker, the thread she'd been holding all night, fraying in real time. I'm here. I lost it for a second. The skip got long. I'm sorry. Where are you? Tell me where you are. River path, going north. The 3 are still behind us. I was sobbing the words. Dana, you went away. You stopped talking. I know. I'm going to keep doing that. The gaps are getting... A silence, breath. Getting longer. So I need to give you the last of the route now while I can hold the thread, and then I need to tell you the other thing, and you have to let me say both before I lose it, okay? Don't interrupt. Just listen, like your life depends on it. Because it does. That part's not a figure of speech. Okay, I whispered. Okay, I'm listening. The river path comes up at Halstead by a closed coffee place with a green awning. There's a fire station 2 blocks north on Halstead. Real firefighters, real people, and the West Side isn't sealed, so they're still operating. Go there. Not a police station, a fire station. Firefighters help everyone and ask fewer questions. Tell them Rosa has family on the West Side and you need to get to them. They'll know what's happening across the river by now, and they'll help 2 women on foot. That's your endpoint. Coffee place with the green awning, fire station 2 blocks north. Say it back. Green awning, fire station 2 blocks north. Rosa heard me say it, and her face changed. The destination becoming real, her baby becoming reachable. Good. That's the route. That's all the route. You don't need me after Halstead, you understand? You graduate at Halstead. A long breath. Now the other thing, the thing I've been saving. The river path was rising toward street level ahead. A green awning, dark, just visible. Behind us, the 3 came on. I called you twice tonight, Dana said. And the second time, when you almost didn't pick up, I want you to know I had already decided that if you didn't pick up the second time, I was going to spend my last working phone hour anyway, trying you over and over, because there was nobody else I wanted to spend it on. Not a friend, not a coworker, not even calling around for help for myself. You. I wanted to spend the end of my life making sure the start of the rest of yours happened. And you spent your whole life thinking you were the one who needed saving, the screw-up, the one I covered for. And I let you think that, because it was easier than telling you the truth, which is that you were never the weak one. You were the one I was always most afraid of losing. You feel everything. I just do spreadsheets. The world's ending, and look which of us it needs. I came up the river stair onto Halstead with the green awning right there, and the city's normal lights all around us, and my sister dying in my ear, and I could not speak. Say something, Dana said, and with the ghost of her old impatience. I'm running out of thread, and I don't want the last thing I hear to be you not talking. You're never not talking. I love you, I said. It's such a small sentence. We'd somehow gone our whole adult lives barely saying it. The 2 of us, hiding it under rent money and lectures and declined phone calls. And now it came out of me on a West Side sidewalk under a dark green awning with 3 dead things climbing the river stair behind me. And it was the truest thing I'd ever said. I love you, Dana. I'm sorry I hung up on you the first time. I'm sorry for all the times I made you cover for me. I'm sorry I'm only saying this now. Don't be sorry, she said. Be the person I just spent an hour proving you are. That's how you pay me back. Not by being sorry. By being her. The gaps were taking her between sentences now, longer each time. Are you on Halstead? I'm on Halstead. I can see the fire station lights. 2 blocks. We're going to make it, Dana. You got us here. You actually got us here. Then I did the work. Satisfaction, even now. Even dissolving, she took satisfaction in a problem solved. I did the work, and it held. Mara, I'm going to put the phone down now. Not hang up. Just put it down. Because the thread's almost gone, and I don't want you to hear the part where I stop being me. I've watched it happen to someone I love once tonight already, and I won't make you listen to it twice. So I'm going to set the phone on the sink, and you're going to keep walking to that fire station, and you're not going to call back, because there won't be anyone to answer who's still your sister. Do you understand what I'm asking? I stood frozen on the sidewalk, Rosa pulling at my arm toward the fire station lights, the 3 coming up onto Halstead behind us now. And I understood that my sister was asking me to let her go while she was still herself, to not chase the dial tone of someone who'd already given me everything she had. I understand, I said, though every cell in my body refused it. Tell me you'll get her to her baby. I'll get her to her baby. Tell me you'll let yourself be the one who saves people now. I looked at Rosa, 19, and trusting me, alive because I'd told her to follow me through a door, and she had. "I'll be the one who saves people now," I said. "Good." A breath. The longest gap yet, and then her voice faint, the thread down to a single strand. "Then we're done, and I did it right, and I'm not scared anymore. Run, Mara, run to the lights, and don't look back at the bridge or the path or any of it. There's nothing behind you worth turning around for. Everything that mattered, you're carrying with you. Go." There was a soft sound of a phone being set down on porcelain, and then the open line, breathing, and a distant patient thud against the solid core door, and my sister's last instruction hanging in the air. I took Rosa's hand. I turned north, and I ran toward the lights without looking back, the way she told me, the way she'd been telling me all night, carrying her voice in my ear until the call finally, gently dropped on its own somewhere in the second block, and I let it. The fire station took us in. Dana was right about that, the way she was right about everything firefighters help everyone and ask fewer questions. And the two soot-faced men at the bay door took one look at two women in mud-stained aprons coming up Halsted at a dead run and pulled us inside before we'd finished asking. Behind us, on the dark stretch of Halsted, the three from the bridge moved into the streetlight, and one of the firefighters said a word under his breath I won't repeat, and the bay door came down. And that was the last I saw of the things that had followed us across the river. I don't remember much of the next hour with any order to it. I remember a foil blanket. I remember Rosa on a borrowed phone, and then Rosa's face coming apart in the best possible way as a grandmother on the west side answered, and a baby cried in the background, alive, untouched, 2 miles from a sealed city and oblivious to all of it. I remember Rosa turning to me with the phone against her chest and saying, "Jeffa, he's okay. He's okay." And I remember holding her while she shook, the both of us shaking, the kid and the screw-up who'd somehow gotten each other to the lights. A firefighter named Dell, older, gray at the temples, crouched in front of me with 2 cups of bad coffee and asked me gently if there was anyone I needed to call, and that's when it hit me, the full weight of it, that the person I would call was the person who'd just spent the last hour of her life making sure I'd be alive to want to call her. That the instinct to reach for Dana when something terrible happened was the deepest reflex I had, older than the diner, older than the declined calls, and that I would reach for it for the rest of my life and find nothing there. "My sister," I said to Dell, and couldn't finish. He didn't make me finish. He'd been pulling people out of the worst nights of their lives for 20 years, and he knew the shape of that sentence without the end of it. He just put his hand on my shoulder, heavy and warm and human, and said, "Drink the coffee. You don't have to do anything else right now except drink the coffee." And I did, because it was an instruction, and following instructions was how I'd stayed alive. And I wasn't ready yet to live in a world where nobody was telling me what to do. Later, when the worst of the shaking had passed, Dell told me what they knew, which wasn't much. The east side was sealed. The bridges were under guard. Whatever it was had moved fast, and the official line was still shelter in place and await further instruction. The same words that would have killed me if I'd obeyed them. The same words Dana had known to override before the city did. I thought about the 1,000,000 people on the east side doing what they were told, sheltering in place inside a zone the planners had already given up on, and I understood the gift my sister had given me wasn't just a route. It was permission to disbelieve the official voice when the official voice was wrong. It was the most Dana thing imaginable, to map the failure point of the emergency response itself and route her little sister around it. Rosa came and sat against me, her grandmother and baby arranged for a reunion waiting on the far side of dawn, and she put her head on my shoulder the way you do with someone you've crossed a river with, and she said, "Your sister, she did all that for you, over the phone. She talked us out. She talked us out, I agreed. She must have loved you so much. And the thing I'd spent my whole life unable to believe, the thing Dana had had to die to make me finally hear, settled into me as simple fact. She did, I said. She loved me so much. I just figured it out about an hour too late. They kept us at the fire station till morning. I didn't sleep. I sat in a plastic chair with the foil blanket around my shoulders, and I held my dead phone in my lap, and I replayed the call. All of it. Every instruction. Every revelation. Every place I'd argued, and every place I'd obeyed. And I understood that the whole night had been my sister teaching me, in the most compressed and desperate classroom imaginable, how to be the person she'd always seen underneath the one I performed. She'd done it deliberately. I see that now. The way she fed me instructions before I needed them, so the response was loaded before the fear arrived. The way she gave Rosa to me as a responsibility instead of letting me run alone, people running towards someone don't stop. The way she made me say things back, made me repeat the route, made me be the voice of authority for Rosa, the way she was the voice of authority for me. She wasn't just saving my life. She was building, in real time, against a closing clock. The version of me that could keep other people alive after she was gone. The last project Dana ever managed was me, and she shipped it. When the gray light came up over the west side, Dell drove Rosa and me toward her grandmother's neighborhood in a department truck, through streets that were nervous but intact, a city that didn't yet know how lucky the river had made it. We passed people boarding windows and people loading cars and people standing on porches staring east at the smoke, and at every one of them I felt something I'd never felt before in my life. The urge to tell them what I knew. Don't trust the shelter in place. Find the forgotten bridge. Move toward the people you love, not just away from the thing you fear. The infected aren't your biggest problem. The crowd is, the panic is. The official voice that already wrote you off is. Donna's whole night of knowledge sitting in me now, wanting to be passed on. At Rosa's grandmother's door, I watched a 19-year-old fold around her baby. And I watched the grandmother fold around Rosa 3 generations alive on a Wednesday morning because a project manager 3 miles away had mapped a route through the end of the world, and a screw-up waitress had finally, for once, picked up the phone and done what she was told. Rosa hugged me before I left. She called me Heffa one more time, and this time it didn't feel like a joke, because somewhere on that bridge, I'd become it. I didn't go back to my apartment. There wasn't much there, and the east side was sealed anyway. I stayed at a shelter the fire department pointed me to, and within a day I was helping run it. Because it turned out I knew things, how to move a frightened group without a stampede, how to give people instructions before they panicked instead of after, how to override the official voice when the official voice was failing. People started looking to me the way Rosa had on the bridge. And every time someone trusted my voice and lived because of it, I felt my sister's hand on the small of my back, pushing me forward, saying, "That's my girl. That's the one I always saw." I never got Dana's body. The east side stayed sealed for a long time, and by the time anyone went in, there was no finding anyone. But I have her voice. I have every word of that last hour, sharper in my memory than anything else I own. And I have the thing she spent her life trying to give me and only managed to deliver by dying. The knowledge that I was never the one who needed saving. I was the one she was most afraid to lose. The one who feels everything. The one the ending of the world, as it turned out, actually needed. She called me twice. I almost didn't pick up the second time. I will spend the rest of my life being grateful and being the person she made in that single hour that I did. It's been a long time now, long enough that the shelter became a community, and the community started looking to me to lead it, which still feels like a clerical error the universe hasn't caught. I'm good at it. That's the strangest part. The woman who couldn't keep a job for 8 months runs a settlement of 200 people. And the thing I'm best at is the thing Dana taught me in an hour, telling frightened people what to do before the fear decides for them, and routing them around the official voices that already gave up on us. I think about her every day, but not the way you'd expect. I don't think about the loss most. I think about the method. The way she fed me instructions in advance. The way she handed me Rosa so I'd have someone to run toward. The way she made me repeat the route back. Building the leader inside the screw-up one sentence at a time, against a clock, while she dissolved. She didn't leave me a map. She left me the ability to make one. People ask how I learned all this. I tell them my sister taught me over the phone on the last night of her life, and that she did the whole curriculum in 60 minutes, because that's all she had, and that the final lesson was that being saved is a debt you can't repay to the dead. You can only pay it forward to the living. I declined her first call. I almost declined the second. That's the truth I keep at the center of everything. The reason I never let a call go unanswered now. The reason I tell everyone here the same thing. Answer the people who love you, even when you're tired, even when you're sure you're fine. You don't know which call is the one that saves your life. Mine came from my sister, 30 minutes before the alert. Answering it is the only reason I'm here. Becoming who she saw is the only way I've found to deserve it.